Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad. My name is Austin.
My name is Patrick.
And guys, welcome to our show.
Yeah, we got AVT and PAT. They talking about young Americans overseas. We got McKinney, Pulisic, Reina, and Des. Got that red, white, and blue USA on the crest from England, Germany, from Belgium to Spain. Racking up all the medals on the trophy train. Got one thing on their mind. We're scaling some luck. One day we can say we will win the World Cup.
Well, guys, it is great to be back with you again this week. And Pat, how was your Easter weekend?
It was good, man. Took a trip up to Savannah with the family. It's good to just disconnect, right, and enjoy Easter, enjoy the holiday, whatever you all are celebrating out there, and just again disconnect from the world. But always had my eye on Foot Mob, right, and Twitter for the soccer stuff going on. But how was your Easter weekend?
Yeah, it was good. I spent some time with family as well, and got some time to recharge, rest up, and was able to catch that Leeds game too. So not the most exciting game to watch this weekend, but I digress.
Yeah, that's not so happy holidays for the boys over at Leeds United.
That's true. But we're excited to talk today. We got some interesting storylines, right? Not too many goals and assists to talk about this weekend, but we do have some interesting storylines to talk about. So how about we start off with a positive one, Pat, and get right into it.
Yeah, I said, let's get into it, Austin. Start with Flo, I should say. We're on that nickname basis now. Flo Balogun over with Reims. So just to highlight the game over the weekend, started with the full 90 and rescued his team. Kind of a controversial penalty, went to VAR. He converted it there in the last few minutes, past the 90th in stoppage time to bring his tally up to 18. So they got that 1-1 draw, which was important to pick up a point, and that puts Balogun as well one goal behind Mbappe for that race in the Golden Boot in Ligue 1. So continuing success. He had a pretty active game as well. A few chances created there. One went wide, as well as a header where rose very well, beat the defender. The keeper made a pretty fantastic save, went off the crossbar, and then he had another heading chance that went just wide. But overall, he was able to get some chances, get the goal, and things are still looking up for Balogun, Austin.
Yeah, and what's his follow count up to now? So he's following the USMNT. I think he's following Christian Pulisic now. I saw he's following Brian Reynolds as well.
Yeah,
he's not following England anymore. So,
although watch out, he's following Drake from Canada.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think he's got any Canadian heritage.
Thank goodness, right? Thank goodness. But yeah, he's on that following spree, right? And it's always funny just to see what other people on social media are tracking and monitoring. And maybe he appreciates all the grind and the hard work investigating the USMNT is doing on social media, right? In Twitter and Instagram and all the other platforms. Or he finds it creepy. I'm just kidding. But no, I think, as a player, right, you're seeing the value there from the fan base that we really want him, unlike Southgate.
Yeah, right. And that's my other question, Pat. So, with this goal, bringing his goal tally now to 18 goals in Ligue 1, as a 21-year-old, that's so impressive, right? So looking at where he ranks on kind of the England depth chart right now, directly from Gareth Southgate, we talked about Ollie Watkins being in front of him, Eddie Nketiah being in front of him. So
Ivan Toney, possibly.
As well. So it's interesting to hear those words being said, and it's got to make you wonder, right? How that resonates with him, and what he thinks his future is with England. I don't know, Pat. I think we can offer him something a little bit more attractive right now.
Completely agree. I think that's the pitch there. I think that's the recruiting pitch from the national team perspective. And hopefully our boys over there at Musa and even the guys, playing in England and even Timo, our boy Timo over in France can link up with him, So we got all eyes and ears across the globe on Balogun. But Austin, I think that's an interesting point you bring up in terms of the depth chart, not only with England, because I think we might be, like you said, winning that battle due to the value and the playing time. But I think that's a direct correlation to club situation as well. He's the guy at Reims, right? It's been a fantastic loan. Fans adore him, right? And the coach, the staff. But Arsenal seems to still not rate him as high as some of the other guys they have in the pecking order, which, again, Arsenal's playing fantastic. This is their best season in many years.
Yeah.
So it has them firing on all cylinders, the attackers especially. And their depth options off the bench are very, very solid. So he wouldn't be that guy that just comes back in and starts 60, 70, 80% of the games. You know, he probably would be in a situation where obviously it's the Champions League, might get some cup games, similar to what Turner's doing in terms of goalkeeper, right, for Arsenal. So I don't think and the rumor appears to be, he wants to be the guy, right? He's 21. He's moving up. He showed his worth in Ligue 1, and there's other high-value clubs wanting him. I think Marseille has been rumored, AC Milan, Inter, some other clubs escaping my mind. I think Lille as well if Jonathan David goes on. So that's interesting rumor as well. And he's definitely seems like the guy and the player that wants to go somewhere where he is relied upon, one of the top guys, you know, very valued there. I'm not sure he's getting that from Arsenal or England. But what are your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, it's tough, like you said, because Arsenal's just got such good camaraderie going right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, Mikel Arteta's built a pretty strong culture there. So, yeah, it's almost one of those situations where maybe he'd be kind of the guy on the outside, you know, looking in if he goes back there this summer. And I'm sure he'll be back there for a period of time. So it'll be kind of interesting to watch how that preseason unfolds, right? With, you know, with him as, you know, potentially being one of those players if they win, you know, the Premier League, right? That's going to be a pretty close-knit group. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, just like good camaraderie between them. So it'll be interesting to see that dynamic. I'm also curious to see where, you know, manager Will Still goes, right? Not sure he's going to stay at Rem. I'm sure he's got a lot of suitors, even though he, you know, commands a pretty high price tag at the moment based on all the fines. But I would almost be curious to see kind of what his path is this summer and see if maybe he tries to lure, you know, Flo with him somewhere. Because they got really good, you know, synergy going, right? He's been commenting on his like Instagram posts and making jokes and things. So if he values him and he gets a good job, I don't know, maybe that would be another option for him too. Open up some more doors.
Exactly. And I think in the same boat, manager and player here. Maybe don't have to make the biggest leap, right? Maybe it's not back to Arsenal or even like you know, Milan level, which is interesting too. But maybe it is like another top 3 or 4 team in France aside from PSG, and maybe they can kind of, you know, manager and player go one another, or again a solid team that's in the top 4 or 5 in another big league. So I think Balogun, fantastic player, but I also don't want him to, you know, with all the attention right now from the national perspective and then his club to get to him too much and kind of pull a death in a sense. He just becomes sort of too big, and then it just kind of teeters out. And maybe I'm being a little bit more conservative or pessimistic, completely different situations and players, but I just want him to take more, I guess, gradual steps and really understand where he's going into if he wants to be that guy.
Yeah, go where he's wanted, right? For club and country.
That's it. Perfect way to sum all my rambling.
Can't say it any better. Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that, Pat. I think it's been awesome just to watch, you know, Flo all season, and we're gonna keep watching pretty heavily until we understand, you know, where we lie with him. So
that's right.
Yeah, more to report back in the future, I'm sure. So now we want to head over to Germany. Well, actually, I guess we're going over to Holland, but it seems like a lot of the drama right now is coming from Germany. We're going to talk about Ricardo Pepi. So quick backstory. Yeah, you're showing me the shackles right now.
Shackles are in Germany.
Ricardo's wearing. Yeah. And, you know, again, a few weeks ago, you know, it came out. I don't know if it was a direct quote, but there was basically some rumors, a quote out there somewhere that Ricardo was interested in staying in Holland, right? Taking a different challenge away from the Bundesliga, you know, this coming summer. From there, we heard that Fabrizio Romano, you know, from Fabrizio Romano basically reported that again, Ricardo Pepi wanted to stay in the Netherlands. PSV and Feyenoord were two of the interested teams. So that was, I would say, earlier last week, that rumor kind of made its way around the Twitter sphere. And then over the weekend, Augsburg, or an official at Augsburg, actually came out and said that, Ricardo is still their player. They're very interested in keeping him. Their coach there now also sees him as fitting their system. And it's going to take a lot of money, basically, if they're going to let go of Ricardo Pepi. So a lot of different things have been said, obviously, Pat, over the past month or so concerning Ricardo Pepi's future. Can you make any sense of, where Ricardo stands right now and how we think this whole, drama will kind of unfold this summer?
I mean, awesome. Here we go. Fabrizio Romano's even in on this. He said he wants out. And that's almost guaranteed to be a truth. And we're hearing it all across the board. Pepi, his team, Augsburg has been just a horrible situation. Rumors as well that I've been reading, and again, just rumors, wouldn't be surprised though, that they haven't even really been monitoring him that closely. Some potential even calls or update check-ins missed. So I think if that's true, that's angering Pepi and his team even more. I think it actually came from his agent too. I could be wrong. I'll have to double check that, guys. But let us know in the comments below. All of these rumors, happening, and his development in the Eredivisie has been great. He's expressed desire to stay in the league. I'm sure we'll get there down the line, with some teams that are interested in him. But yeah, those Augsburg shackles, and I think what you just mentioned, the director came out and said, I think it's all just swirling attention to these rumored clubs and like a money grab, right? To just say, hey, he's in our plans. He's really probably not, but we're going to think that so we can drive that price up. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and honestly, Pat, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Obviously, if, push comes to shove and they play chicken a little too long, Augsburg, then I would be disappointed because, I don't think he should stay there. And again, whether it's a permanent loan or a permanent transfer or a loan this summer, I can't see him going back to that situation. And Augsburg also have a bunch of strikers right now. I think their top 3 scorers are all strikers this season. So do they really need another, striker, right? They're in a good shape. They don't need Ricardo Pepi. Ricardo Pepi needs somewhere else, He needs a free-flowing system to play in. So I kind of want to pivot, Pat, and get your opinion. Well, actually, before I do that, so there was another quote from Ricardo Pepi actually talking about why he chose Groningen this year, for his loan spell, basically. And basically likened or told people that he took into consideration that, Luis Suarez played at Groningen, had a really great experience there. Ricardo, again, likens his situation to Luis's at the time, where he's a Latino player going into the Netherlands, playing for a team that is kind of unfamiliar to him, but wants to emulate that and kind of emulate Luis Suarez at Groningen. And looking at the stats, just, real quick, in 37 competitions, Luis had scored 15 goals and had 7 assists. And Ricardo Pepi right now has played in 23 competitions, has 10 goals and 3 assists. So not far off with those numbers. And obviously, Luis has played a fair amount more games, but pretty interesting to see, again, where they were at their, at that stage in their careers. And, we'll have to wait and see how Ricardo's career turns out. But pretty positive, if I'm being honest, based on, just looking at those comparisons right there.
Not a bad comparison, right, to make in terms of the biting goat Suarez. No, I'm just kidding. But
yeah, right.
Fantastic player, though. You could see the development, what he's done. Maybe that's a good sign or foreshadowing that Pepi will eventually move to my favorite club, Liverpool, and that'd be awesome. No,
right.
But, I think he really took his time making this. We've talked about it before. An excellent decision with his loan move. Now Groningen's really struggling, but he's the guy. Similar to Balogun being the guy, right? He's the guy there carrying that club. Hopefully keep them out of the relegation zone. But it will be interesting to see, with all this media swirling and craziness going on, where he ends up at Augsburg or somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, too. With Luis Suarez, he spent a season at Groningen, then went on to Ajax and had a lot of success there. So again, I want to pitch it to you, Pat. The two clubs that were rumored right now are PSV and Feyenoord. Do you think those are good destinations for Ricardo? And is there one maybe of the two that you kind of like a little bit more than the other?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this a little bit too after we were discussing off camera. If I was going between one or two, honestly, I think if we were talking about this within the last year, 2 or 3, I would 100% say PSV.
Mm-hmm.
I think Feyenoord's building a really, really fine project in terms of the investment and where the club is going. I think they're really pitching themselves now to contend in the long run with your PSVs and Ajax. I think they haven't necessarily been on that level, but they're getting there. I think that would be a good move as well. But then on the flip side, right, PSV is just the history behind them, right? You're seeing even players like recently, like Gakpo, right, and some other names go on to make some pretty big moves, and like you said, Suarez with Ajax. So PSV, Ajax having that history, I would be honestly, I'll be honest, I don't know maybe that too much insight into each club. I would be pretty indifferent. I think either of those would be fantastic options. I would prefer those two over another league or going back to Augsburg, definitely. What are your thoughts? Back to the same question. Did you have one or the other, or kind of indifferent?
Yeah, so there's, I think, two interesting connections with these clubs as well, right? So Santi Jimenez is, the Mexican striker who's done really well for Feyenoord this season, has them sitting atop the Eredivisie table by 8 points right now. What happens with his future? Does he move on to a bigger club this summer? Would Ricardo Pepi come in and kind of compete with him for minutes? I think that might influence his decision a little bit. And then also, right, Ernie Stewart is at PSV now. I believe as technical director, right? So, yeah, I mean, does that kind of weigh into his decision as well? Obviously, Ricardo kind of came through the system, definitely made his debut, right, when Ernie was, for U.S. soccer here the past few years. So, there's that connection too. So does that have any sway for Ricardo Pepi? And like you said, Pat, I think both teams are great. They have great young players at the moment. Xavi Simons is someone who's really been fantastic this year. We'll see if he stays this summer. But I think either way, these are two teams that, if you get the opportunity to play for either of them right now with how they're set up, I think you got to take it, right? I mean, there's no doubt it's a better situation than Augsburg with either of these teams.
Absolutely. And you could almost even say, I'm just thinking about it a little bit more, if your number one goal is playing time, right, you'll have to see what happens with Jimenez, right? But historically, PSV with the academy and just kind of the turn and burn and the elite level you have to have, maybe you have a little bit more breathing room in Feyenoord right now. They're kind of to be that Ajax PSV, and they're having a fantastic season, but maybe you have a little bit more luxury, right, of some dips and forms as opposed to PSV or Ajax, where maybe you're not at that level, and they have 5 other high level academy players right behind you.
Yeah, it's
an interesting point to consider.
Yeah, it's a good point too. Looking at both teams right now, there's a lot of attacking talent. So and you never know, right, what the summer brings. There could always be transfers in, transfers out. So we'll keep an eye on all the Ricardo Pepi drama. I'm sure there'll be some more statements back and forth. It seems like this is gonna be one of those things. Free Pepi, right? Take those shackles off, find that key somewhere.
That's right.
And,
another player that needs to be freed, Austin. Pulisic, our next topic.
Good segue.
Hopefully he'll be free. It sounds like he is. But interesting, not more so that the game Wolves disappointing 1-0 loss, but who the manager was, the interim manager right now for Chelsea. Who's that, Austin? I'm doing a drum roll here.
That's Frank the Tank. He's back in business, baby.
That's right, man. Back in business for I don't know what this is. Kind of you're walking the plank here, right?
A farewell tour? I mean,
I don't know what you call it, but silver lining in this disaster season and time and change of managers, for Chelsea. Christian has built some success of the we compared to Tuchel, Potter. Lampard has actually played him in his preferred position. Now he had to build up some rapport with him, but just some numbers here, right? When Pulisic was at his best, you could argue, aside from the Champions League, right? But when Lampard was there, he had 12 goals, 5 assists in 33 game starts of the 44 played, across the 2 seasons. So aside from injuries there, or maybe dips in form and gaining Lampard's trust, I think you mentioned didn't have the best start there, and Lampard had criticized him. But even in his book, he mentioned he was one of the managers he liked working with the most, and really kind of gained his trust before then Lampard was sacked for the first time. So interesting turn of events at a disaster club of Chelsea right now, but that might bode well for Christian in terms of playing time.
Yeah, it was so interesting to see him get appointed. And obviously, again, he's going to be a caretaker manager. So I don't think he's going to get this job long term. He'd really have to do a lot of, fixing up of this team. But yeah, it's good, I guess, for Pulisic. I'm not sure what the end goal is, right? They're still alive in Champions League. They'll play, I think, on Wednesday versus Real Madrid.
Yeah,
so
what a weird. Sorry to interrupt you, but what a weird spot to be in, because they also, we were talking off camera, weren't even in the top 3 or 4, I believe, when they won the Champions League.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's foreshadowing, but I can't imagine it, Pat, right? This team is not a good team this year. They're very disjointed. They just don't look like a cohesive unit, right? And I think there's so many players that have come into Chelsea this year. There's just no clear vision of what's expected. Who are the star players? Who are the main guys, right, that we're going to rely on? It seems like it's kind of, rotated all season. There hasn't been much consistency. So, yeah, I mean, Frank Lampard's going to try his best, I guess. But, to be honest, Pat, Frank Lampard hasn't had too much success as a manager. I mean,
Nope.
Derby County's been great. He had a little bit of success with Chelsea and, his first term. But all I know is Mason Mount's going to be super excited to have him back. Yeah, right?
Yeah, him and Pulisic are jumping up and down right now.
Yeah.
For playing time. But I think this, again, not too much more to add on the game specifically. It was so disappointing. But, Pulisic can get a run of games. Maybe he's a starter for some games. Maybe he's that number one option. He was the number one option off the bench here over some of their, again, newer, high paid signings here. So if he can use that for leverage, right, to drive that value up, that's good for Chelsea to sell him off in the summer. It's good for him, right? It almost seems like his foot's already out the door, kind of, in a sense. Now, Champions League's still there. That's worth fighting for, but it just kind of seems like this is the swan song for him. And maybe that will be, good for, Newcastle or other clubs that are keeping an eye on him, for the next move. But I think this is it. I think this is his swan song.
Yeah, it feels somewhat like that, right? It just feels like, things aren't the best at Chelsea right now. And if Christian really wants to kind of reach the level that we think he can reach, I just don't think it's really going to be at Chelsea. And again, I don't know if it's going to be at a team like a Chelsea. I know you talked about Newcastle, and, we could debate that if they're going to actually, turn into a Chelsea in the future. Yeah. But I honestly wouldn't be opposed to him, maybe going down a little bit in stature of club and just getting more consistent playing time, being more, beloved by the club. It feels like a lot of times he's the scapegoat at Chelsea, which, is fair being in the American playing, in the Premier League. But I don't know. I just feel like I'm with you, Pat, I guess. I feel like this kind of is the time for him to go from Chelsea.
That's it. Well,
stay
tuned on that. But I mean, with him, Pepi, there's a lot. Balogun is going to be an exciting summer, just ahead here. So all the best for Christian. Maybe they go on that Champions League run. And he does play pretty well against Madrid. So, by the time this episode's out or after, maybe he'll get some game time in a goal there.
Yeah, maybe he'll be immortalized or something. Score some crazy
like Havertz.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So Cool. Well, moving into our final player for today, we have Haji Wright. So wanted to end on a positive. Haji was back on the score sheet this weekend in Antalya Sports 1-1 draw. And yeah, this goal this past weekend gave Haji 3 goals and 1 assist in his last 3 games. So on a bit of a hot streak right now, has 13 goals in 20 games on the season, 4th in the Golden Boot race over there in Turkey, Pat. Some perspective, Ender Valencia is 26. So the former Tigres man, World Cup hero for Ecuador, is kind of leading the way over there.
This ages. He's like fine wine.
I know. Yeah, just keep him healthy. Keep that man's hamstrings or what was his injury in the World Cup healthy, and he'll be good to go. So I just want to, again, don't have too much to add for Haji, but want to get your thoughts, Pat. We're in a kind of a weird time, right? MLS is starting back up. We're seeing some performances from Brandon Vasquez and Jesus Ferreira again. We have some of our strikers abroad playing, coming back from injury. When you look at Haji Wright and kind of his body of work, right? He's had another good season in Turkey now. Where would you put him on our striker list for the USMNT?
That's a very good question, Austin. So if I had to do very vague tiers, forgive me for lack of criteria, I would put Pepi, quote unquote Balogun, if we get him, at that tier 1.
Okay.
You have the tier 2, your Sargents, your DK. And I would put Haji there, kind of middle back. I think the league, championship is again, definitely the best second division and really solid. I would put the championship possibly ahead of Belgium and some of those other leagues. You can make the argument for, top to bottom. So Turkey, it just is not the same as what it used to be with your old, historic, Besiktas and some of those other historical clubs. Just the money's not there. The players, the league's definitely declined. So it's really hard to compare, Austin. So I do want to get your thoughts on that. But he's been very consistent. He's been steady and consistent there. He's found his goal scoring form. He's found home there. And now it's time for him to take that next step. So I think if he takes that next step and performs at this level, he would jump to the top of that tier 2 per se. Then your tier 3s are obviously, I would put like your Ferreira, and company. I think he's right in the mix there. And again, our striker pool's so open. I do feel like Pepi's leading the way a little bit. And then if we get Balogun obviously locked in. What are your thoughts, though?
Yeah, so where would you put Brandon Vasquez then? You said Ferreira would be in tier 3. Would that be where Brandon Vasquez is too? And
yeah, he would be. I would put him right on that back end, maybe same as Haji, right behind him, ahead of Ferreira.
Okay,
I think Vasquez is going in the right direction, and when he makes that move, I think he will to Europe. I think then we can put him, pretty firmly in tier 2.
Really? Okay, interesting. Yeah, honestly, Pat, I would tend to agree. And I'm not Haji Wright's biggest fan, to be honest. I think he's a little one-dimensional as a striker. I think he's not as physical as you would, hope for, a bigger striker. And again, a lot of his shooting, I don't know. I just feel like it might. I don't know. I want to see him get a bigger chance this summer, I guess is kind of what I'm saying. So, yeah, I kind of put him, right around where you put him. I think Sargent is a little bit more complete. DK has a little bit more of like that, like natural strength, right? Just with his size, his power, finishing ability. I think, is probably on par with Haji. Maybe even Haji's a little bit better of a finisher. But yeah, I think Haji Wright could definitely be, right in that tier 2 with those players. I would love, honestly, to see a little bit more of Brandon Vasquez. Obviously he's playing consistently now. I've been able to see a little bit of him with Cincinnati this year. But like you said, I really think he's going to get the chance to go abroad. And I hope he takes it, right? I think, that would be really positive for his career. And not to say that it would give us more data or like, I don't think just because he moves abroad, that moves him up the list. But I think it'll give him more of an opportunity, right? To kind of showcase his skills, prove himself at a higher level, right? Because if he, goes to the Bundesliga, let's say, right? Gladbach's kind of been rumored recently.
Right.
And, starts to score goals there at the same rate he's been scoring in MLS, then you got to give him a little bit more credit, right? I mean, that's that's pretty impressive if he's able to do that. So
Completely agree. Yeah, it's not like Belgium or the Championship. MLS is a solid league now, and that's not really saying much to make that move over there. But if you are in a Bundesliga, right, or a top four, big four European league, that's where we can really have that conversation. But Austin, I guess you've asked a lot of insightful questions to me. I want to pin it back to you on Haji.
Okay.
Where do you think that next move would be? Maybe I don't know if it's a particular team in mind. I know we've talked about it in the past, but more updated version, right? In April 2023. Do you think that's a better league suited for him, or maybe a few teams in terms of where you get playing time, but also a good step enough to really compete with Pepi and potentially Balogun and some of those other guys?
Yeah, last time we talked about this, I talked about Haji and his confidence and going to a place where he's truly respected. He's the man, almost like Balogun, right?
Yeah.
He's going to a place where he's not to say he's not competing with someone else, but he has the assurance that he's going to be looked at as kind of a key player and someone that's going to get a lot of minutes right away. So, Crystal Palace was rumored over the winter, right? And that's the situation I don't think suits him at all. I think staying away from the Premier League, going to maybe a bigger team in a lesser league. Again, whether that's Belgium, the Netherlands, maybe Feyenoord's a team that kind of looks at him, or another team in that kind of that top echelon of teams in the Netherlands. I really think that would be a positive move for him. I don't have a specific team, Pat, so I'm sorry. I feel like I'm kind of copping out, but
no,
that's kind of where I'm at with him.
It's unless we had transfer market programmed into our minds, literally every team ever in the league, But
right,
I agree with you. I completely agree with you, and I almost wonder too. Maybe Syria, maybe there's some potential teams, not like your Milans or Napolis, but
or Spezia.
Yeah, Spezia. I don't know. I'd be interested to see, like, in a. Again, it has to go where he is that guy, right? But I like a team. You did mention that Netherlands has some strong teams, but even an Atalanta or that where they've just built something really, really quality. And it's not the most talented or highest valued players, but a really cohesive team that really gels and plays together and very consistent.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know the exact players there that Atalanta has, but I've watched a few of the games when they're in European football and was pretty impressed with just the cohesion of the group. So that'd be interesting in maybe Italy, France, or Spain, a team similar to that.
Yeah. And I think, again, we're not looking for probably a big money move for him, right? Like we think he needs to, go to a situation where he's going to be prioritized as the player and not as the asset, I guess. That's the best way to kind of put it. So, well, let us know in the comments below what you think, where you think our strikers, where Haji Wright ranks amongst our strikers right now. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. I'm sure there'll be some good debate about that. And I guess, Pat, now let's head over to Quick Kicks. All right, guys. Well, to start off Quick Kicks today, I have two players again. So the first one is Joe Scally. So started for Gladbach this weekend in their 2-0 win over Wolfsburg. Really has gotten a lot of consistent playing time recently, Pat. So just wanted to give him a quick shout out. One thing of note, though, is he did come off with a leg injury in this game. So we'll have to kind of monitor it, see, how serious it is. I don't think there's really been too much of an update from the club. So, we'll have to kind of wait and see. Hoping for the best for Joe over there in Germany.
He's in a fantastic place. A great home with consistent playing time.
Honestly, things have gone so well with him. Super excited to see more of him with USMNT, right? We got to see a little bit this past window.
Yeah, just a taste, though. Just a taste.
Just a taste. Just small taste, bro. That's all we're getting. A small taste right now. But one day we'll get that large fillet, right?
That's right. All we ask.
And my second quick kick. So this one is, it's a little tough, but trying to find the silver lining in the dark cloud, and that's Brendan Aaronson. So had an assist for Leeds in their 5-1 loss this weekend. Nice set piece delivery. 5-1. Not a great situation right now for Leeds. That was a pretty brutal game. Like I said at the beginning of our episode, I watched the full game, and yeah, went from great to bad to worse. And yeah, it didn't end too well. So, quick shout out for Brendan. He actually didn't look terrible in the game. He had some pretty bright moments, especially in the first half, just creating opportunities and kind of being a catalyst in attack. But yeah, Leeds just once they went down, they went down, man. They did not have much fight in them. So yeah.
Capitulated. Well,
who do you have for quick kicks this weekend?
Positive to start. 2 key takeaways, 2 quick kicks. Starting the championship with Ethan Horvath over Luton Town. 3-1 win today over Blackpool. Cements them there 4 points clear of Zach Steffen's Middlesbrough for the 3rd place spot. So top 2.
Mind the gap, bro.
Mind the gap. So they're close to Sheffield for that 2nd spot, right? The top 2 in the championship get automatically promoted. But they're firmly in that championship playoff, and Horvath's been a huge part. He's in the previous game, I think a few days back, because there's so many games, million games in the championship. He had his 18th clean sheet, which is leading in the championship, the Golden Glove race. So fantastic kind of turnaround right after being discarded by Nottingham and really not beating out Samba in the championship to Luton Town, who was towards the bottom last year. It's having tremendous season and tremendous year as a team and him individually. So congrats to our boy there, Ethan. Now the second player, Kevin Paredes, on the losing end of Joe Scout for that Gladbach Wolfsburg game. But I'm only highlighting this to show Paredes again came on early in the 59th minute, had some lively chances created there. It just looked active in his cameo, and I think we're just kind of seeing that natural progression to the first relied upon sub, 20, 30, 35 minutes here and there, consistently to the end of the season. And then he's going to have a full preseason in place. And I'm calling it, Austin. I don't know if it's game 1, but before the end of 2023, Kevin Paredes will be a locked-in starter for Wolfsburg. I think that's the direction.
Wow.
I think that's where we're going.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, he's gotten a lot of playing time recently, and yeah, I've liked what I've seen. So I'm excited. I really think he's a player we should call up, at some point, whether it's for the Nations League, games coming up later this year, or I don't know, some other time maybe. But yeah, I like what I've seen from him so far.
Completely agree. So I think that's one player, right? 10 quick kicks to keep on your radar there.
And that's all for episode today, guys. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
And don't forget, follow us on Instagram, Twitter. We're always excited to engage, debate with you all on our Americans Abroad.
That's right. And this episode's also available in podcast form on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. So go check us out there. Leave us a review. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, so Austin, I think with maybe not as many goals, assists, we're getting a lot of storylines. It's a slow kind of end of the year, right, to our seasons here. I feel like there's just a buzz, right? We got a lot of tournaments coming up from the USMNT perspective, even the youth team, the women's, right? A lot going on. So I think it's the calm before a fun storm, per se.
That's fair, and that's really what I hope it is, right, Pat? I really hope we can, see things progress, and by 2026, hey, you know what's going to happen, Pat? It's coming home. Read the glass.
Yep.
2026 or bust, baby. That's right, because one day we will win the World Cup.